Welcome to Beyond the Lines, folks. My name is Sarah and I'm the artist behind Pinselgeschichten, and today I'm gonna have part 2 of this boop boop, hopefully lovely coloring page. I also might be a little goofy today. Oops. I'm gonna finish this one. I'm gonna work only on the Cathedral. So if you joined me last week, and the link will pop up in the iCards to the previous video where I worked in the background, you will now see how I go about the focal point and when I put in shading, only how I just approach the whole thing with layering colors and tweaking stuff, and how I like to go about it, not to get confused with those very, let's say, whimsical lines in this book, but also in general with any kind of more involved drawing or painting. So I hope you enjoy. So let's get to the focal point. Let's finish Saint Basil's Cathedral. I'm gonna use quite a couple of colors. I think hardly any that I used before, because well, maybe 1 or 2 colors, but hardly any, because this is a very colorful cathedral standing in the midst of the Red Square in Moscow. And since it is the focal point, of course, I wanted to pop from the background colors that I used here, and that means that I'm hardly gonna repeat any colors that I used in the background. Now, you see that there's very many things going on, very many tiny little pieces of stuff here in those towers on the building. And it, with this kind of line work style, it might be a little bit confusing or kind of overwhelming to see things. So what I find is, well, what I find works best for me is go with one color and look throughout the whole piece and find all the pieces that I want or / need to color with this particular tone. For example, I need a blue, one of these blues here, to color this tower here. The rest of that, well, some of those stripes are blue and some of them are white. What I'm gonna do is take the blue first, and I think I like the 900 best, which is Iris blue. I have to sharpen it a bit. For the white, I'm gonna be needing a shading color, the lightest gray that I can possibly have. The lightest gray. That would be the 2110. I think I used that already. Yeah, it's a Payne's gray. It's a bluish gray. And that's gonna be a tricky one, because I only want very little to shade the bottom of the white parts. But I'm gonna go in with the blue first, and I think I like these parts to be the blue, the patterned one. Again, I'm gonna leave white space like I just did last week. And I'm pretty much coloring or putting color down where the dark colors are, where the shadow is. So that would be this side here. And also this side. And of course here too on the left hand side, which means that the light sits here in the center and towards the outer parts it's gonna get darker. Now I'm having the lightest ever touch with the Payne's Gray. And I'm just gonna feather in a smidge of pigment here, also from the top. Just again, the lightest possible touch that I can muster to put in a bit of the light gray here. These are white parts, so they still have to have a shadow. They're gonna have colors in their surroundings bounce off of white, so in this case I'm having a gray, but it could very well also be the terracotta that's going to be the majority of this cathedral, or could be the emerald green that's right underneath here. It all depends on how much sunshine you have. I'm not having a lot of sunshine, so there's only little bouncing going on in the colors, and I want the blue colored first and only then the gray. So I have to be a bit careful not to pull the blue into parts it's not supposed to go, especially here on these very narrow top pieces. Coloring this in. Same here. And of course also here. Gonna clean my brush and then go in from the bottom towards the top with the Payne's Gray. Carefully. And then also from the top towards the bottom. And I'm favoring the right hand side here to pull pigment and the left hand side here. Now this is smack in the middle, this part here, so I'm gonna pull it to both sides. Same goes for the lower part here, to the right and to the left. Here on this particular section I'm favoring the left hand side to pull the gray pigment. And of course the same goes here on this part. Going to let that sit for a minute. I'm gonna let this sit for a minute and I'm gonna move on to the next color, which is the emerald green. And I want this color, the 1300, which is called teal green. This is a lot used here on the cathedral. So I'm gonna go in, put it here, for example. Going darker towards the outer parts and lighter in the middle. But since this is the focal point, now is the time to also work a bit more on definition and contrast and everything. So I'm going to bring in the mallard green, which is a little more towards the turquoise, but really just a little. And I'm going to take it from the pencil right away and bring in some more dark towards the edges. And only it's a very subtle difference, but it is a difference between the two tones. I'm going to take the teal green again and pull it a bit more like this. And then I'm going in once more with the Payne's Gray. Just intensify a little line on each section, even across the blue, just a little bit, to enhance the shape of this onion kind of tower. And to have the idea of a shadow all across that part of the tower too. The same from the top. And I'm gonna take the iris blue that I had for these parts here, and I'm gonna pull in a bit more here and there, just to intensify stuff. Still want to keep the light in the middle. I think I need a bit more oomph. Again, I'm working on the focal point here, so I have to be brave with the amount of color that I put down to really pull it into the foreground. That's more like it. Okay, that was the blue part. Now I'm going to go all around the cathedral with the two greens, so the teal and the mallard green. I'm going to find all the pieces that are in this color, and I'm going to use that color on it. For example, ooh, this is going to be difficult. Hold on, where's what? Here. Now let's go with a tower that I colored. Okay, that is funny. Here's pieces that are definitely not in the original. So I have to improvise. Okay, so I'm going to go in with a light teal color here. These parts are not green in the original, but there's little triangles in real life, and they are emerald green. But well, artistic license. I'm gonna take these shapes because the other ones are not here. So I'm going to the same going on here. I'm gonna bring in the darker green now. Add darker pigment towards either the end or the lower part of things, like so. For example, here I need the lower part to be that dark green. And that's in real life. There's also a green part here. And also this part here is the same emerald green. I'm having a photo of the Basil Cathedral next to me in case you're wondering how I know what is what color. But I said in the last video that I want to be as true as possible to the real Basil Cathedral when it comes to the colors that I choose and where to put those colors. So of course I'm going to use them to my advantage here and just check. So there's some little green embellishments here. And now it's time to use the brush on this particular tower and liquefy what I have put down. Can see here that I pull the pigment into the inner parts of these alcoves. The pigment there in real life is white, but I said earlier that colors bounce off of white sections depending on daylight or any light source that you have. Also works with artificial light. So I'm just going to pull in the emerald green a bit and have it pretty much bounce of white parts. Just being careful. Stay in those lines as much as possible. And now for the big one. That is that tower. On to the others. So there's emerald green also on this tower. And it is the light one here. It is in all of these pieces. So I'm going to take the teal green for the mid part here. There's none up there. It's just around those alcoves. And the darker green is pretty much here. It's hardly any overlap. But going around it, this is all terracotta color there. So that's all on this particular tower, and I'm going to liquefy the teal color first, and then only go for the mallard green, which is that darker, almost turquoisey aqua color. Okay, nothing more on this particular tower. The other one, Here's no emerald. Down here there's a little mallard green here on the decoration. On this one here, this has a different look than the original one does. So there's the dark green here. And also here, and a little bit of the teal as well, just as an accent color. As well as here. Yep, that's enough. This tower actually has these half circle alcove things going on as well in real life. So I have to freestyle here and color that part to whatever I think is appropriate. This particular part here has no emerald. Do we have emerald here? Yes, we do, but only very little. Let's see. It has just a smidge of the teal. And the inner parts here are the mallard green, the dark one. These roofs here are also mallard green, dark. And I might need a bit of shadow, so I'm going in a very little bit with the mallard on top, on the right hand side of the teal. Just very, very little, as you can see. And I'm going to liquefy this pigment. These roofs now. And then I should be done with all the emerald green. Let me check once more. Yeah, I am. Okay. Now, to just make things easier and tone things down right away, because this looks really weird. Cold colors in the front, warm colors in the back. Ah, no. Let's bring in the terracotta tone, or the whatever redstone tone that the cathedral is, and that would be red oxide is the color of choice. And I'm going to put it in everywhere that it has to go, and liquefy the pigment right away, tower per tower, which for one fills quite a bit of surface already, but also it just quiets down the piece right away, because there's gonna be a lot of bits and pieces here filled right away. So, oh, I forgot another emerald green one. That is that one here. So I'm quickly gonna dry it in and liquefy the pigment and go around it until it's dry. I'm going around that section here with the oxide ink and color that upper part only in a couple of minutes here. Don't want to get too close to the wet part of the emerald green, so let's move lower. Here's oxide. These are dark here. Gonna bring in the Indian ink black right away for the things that are super dark. Where did I put that pencil? Ah, there. Let's take this one till we find the other. Okay, so this lower part is light. This. Just really have to make sure now that I don't color anything in this oxide color that is actually cream colored or white, because there's quite a couple of white or cream colored pieces on this cathedral. That is a nice separation between the oxide and the emerald. Now with this tower here, I'm almost done. It has a bit of oxide here. And also here. And here. Really have to concentrate now where to put down the pigment. I'm going to take the charcoal gray that I used for shading this white part, shade here, off to the left hand side maybe, yeah, right hand side, words, sheesh. and here towards the inner part too. On these lower windows here, I'm going in with the charcoal gray, no, Payne's gray, sorry, Payne's gray. And that is the tower except for the top, which has a gold color. So just to not get overwhelmed and everything, I'm going to liquefy the pigment here right away. I'm going to start with a charcoal gray or Payne's gray. Sheesh, sorry folks, I could maybe just remember what I said half a minute ago, if it even was half a minute. Might have been only 5 seconds. But I'm going into liquefy the gray first. And that already helps. Now on these parts here, and now for the black little sections, and then I go top to bottom with the oxide color. And I have not really left white space with the oxide color, and that is because the cathedral, the oxide red part of it in real life looks actually kind of flat, and the colorful pieces that are, I think, painted on with minerals or something, or there's real like decorative gold or emerald or whatever, they look kind of shiny, and that red stone looks quite flat. So I'm going to enhance that flat look in my particular coloring here by having a lot of pigment down quite evenly, and not work with pulling pigment into white space. I'm just going all around the pits that I had colored. I'm just liquefying the pigment, no fancy gradient look, just flat coloring. I mean, I always will have a gradient there somehow because I didn't color to the edges. So some parts are maybe a bit lighter than others, but I try to keep the gradient look at a minimum. I went with the pencil wherever I felt comfortable to go. Almost done with the first tower. Now I have to bring in a second color because these parts here are the same oxide, but I want to set that tower apart from that one and that one. So I need a little bit of a darker color to bring in towards the edges. And I want to take that one here, the 1920, which would be madder brown, and I'm having very little on it, so just here at the edge. With this one, yep, I have to check on the photo quickly. It's going to be something like this, and also here, and in the middle it is, of course, going to be the oxide. And a bit of the ink black for the inner parts here of those alcoves. And on the lower hand, there's just to set the two towers apart here. It's a bit tricky, but don't be frustrated. Let's go in with the black first and see where the alcoves are. There's one, there's one, there's another one, and also there. So the rest here can be painted with that red tone. I'm just going to color that part oxide red, because this is not fun to see where's what. So I'm not going to bring in the gray or the white on this particular tower. I'm going to do that at the next one. So liquefy black. So in case of getting frustrated with line work at coloring pages where you don't know where something goes and it's not visible for you, like to make out, okay, what's that supposed to be? Make it your own. You can definitely just color it all in one go, all in one tone. And especially with these line work heavy pieces like this particular page here, you probably won't run into that problem as much when you draw or color on your own, because you're the one to put down the line work. But if you work on somebody else's line work, it sometimes is a bit difficult to see, okay, what are you trying to do here? What are you trying to tell me that this part is? Make it your own part instead of being frustrated. Okay. There is that. Going on to this part, there's gonna be white in there, and that means I have to bring back the gray. But first, black here and black here, also here, here and here. The white is gonna be on this line. And the oxide goes up to here, and the rest is green, so I'm not going to color the rest. Just the part here. That part is going to be colored later. Going to start with the Payne's gray. Then moving on to the black. And then again, finishing this part with the oxide. I'm gonna go in now with black, gray and oxide for the next tower here. So I'm starting again with the black. So here, here, here. These arcos here are actually white, so I'm putting in a little bit of gray on the right hand side, lower right hand side that is, just a bit. Then there is gray also here. And here. It's quite a bit of pattern that is white that I'm going to shade with the gray here for this particular one. Red, the rest is red up there. So I'm going to take the brown matter because I want to set this tower apart from the one next to it. And going to bring in the oxide. The nice thing about the Inktenses and the point of liquefying it, that you don't have to be super precise with your pencil lines while you color, which is a totally different kind of thing when you actually work with colored pencils only.
This one here is white as well, so I'm bringing in the gray for the lower part here. There's some more black. And some more gray stuff. So for example, these here. And also that. Being very careful with the amount of pigment I put down, very light touch. And there's of course gray or white here. And some more black. Where did I put the black? There it is. Sheesh. Should be able to see. And that means that there's gray on here. And it's color in the brown matter and the oxide. So there's a bit of tower here, so that needs a bit of brown matter. Oh, also on the other side this time around. So there and there. And the rest goes in with oxide. Okay, and now I can move down here to the last bit, again having the windows black. Maybe I should have this one colored in too. Oh, forgot some. The windowsill is gray. It's almost all gray because this is even more in shadow. Actually forgot a bit of green here. Gray here. And the rest, oh, there's one more. No, there's not. Oh, there is. Ah, I should really be able to see, but I think this is a combo piece here of a tower, or not. But there's some more gray. And the rest is oxide. Here, here, and here, and also I need some brown matter here. And also this part. And the rest again is oxide. And if you go bit by bit by bit by bit, you might be able to avoid the overwhelmed feeling of, oh my gosh, where is this pigment gonna go? I know it can be quite stressful to color some pieces in some coloring books cohesively, though actually they're not supposed to be stressful for you, but you are just supposed to enjoy them, and no matter what. But we want to produce something nice and something that we like and something that is pretty, of course. But sometimes that can be very stressful because we actually sit in front of line work and think, oh my gosh, how is that going to work? I'm never going to be able to handle this. And other times it's really simple. So going by bit, it might help you with not being too overwhelmed and almost compartmentalize each section that you're coloring. And if it's not for you, you don't have to. I mean, when you have your own paintings or colorings or drawings, you might not experience the overwhelmed feeling that much. But it's maybe more like, okay, when I choose colors, which ones are the best to take for what I want to achieve, for what I have in my head. And that can be very overwhelming as well. But there's a few simple rules to this section of artwork, to this part of creating. And you can very well take away the overwhelmedness or the being insecure or unsure of what it is. For one that is testing and playing all the time with colors. If colors is the one thing that makes you anxious or nauseous when it comes to a beautiful line work piece that you drew and you definitely don't want to fuck it up with colors. There's the idea of copies or test coloring on a different sheet and just see how few colors work together before you put them on your masterpiece. That's something that might take away the anxiety of colors. And also just going with a few, almost scientifically logical steps in choosing your colors, and that is having a mixture of warm and cold colors, knowing where light comes from, having a very planned out color scheme for your piece really helps, because then you can go in and think before you act and think about, okay, where does my light come from? What do I want to do for distance? How do I want to create that? Do I want it with a certain color, or do I want to do that with blur instead of very defined pieces of drawing or painting? Or do you want to have a certain color because of a certain day of time, or time in like a certain era of whatever? Roman times might be a bit more yellowish than, say, World War II times. That is just an association in our brains. You can go like that and just pick your colors bit by bit before you even put it onto paper or canvas. Maybe play with them a bit on another sheet of paper. See which colors you like best next to each other, and always think about the few rules that there are with color theory or colors to work together well or contrast. It's just a few things. And the rest actually is up to your preference. I like certain blue tones more than others. They might both be very warm blue tones, but I might like one better than the other. So I'm going to gravitate toward the one that I like best, of course. Same goes for greens and yellows and whatever. It's just your preference. And when you have a few paintings or colorings under your belt, you will very well know which color combo you just like, what you feel safe with, what you think works best for what you want to convey in your pieces of art. And you just either remember them or write them down for certain media. If you work with different kinds of mediums, it might actually help to write them down, to not be frustrated when you want to remember, oh, was it this blue or that blue with the green and that made that awesome thing? Write it down, read it again, and, well, use the color combo again. It's so simple. So simple to avoid being frustrated or underwhelmed with your color choices. You just need to put in some time to, for one, play, which is always a time well spent. And you need to, well, maybe try to figure things out and think first before you grab a pencil and color. It doesn't mean that this is science and you have to have a diploma. Not what I'm talking about. But, well, take your time. And sometimes it helps to think aloud. So do that. And who's going to stop you to do that? And maybe in the beginning, when you're not sure yet and you don't have your standard color combos for certain things that you like to have in your painting, you might want to have a scrap piece of paper next to you and test colors and then write them down in a notebook or photograph them, the materials you used, and save them somewhere in your electronic device or something. And just go from there. So easy. It's not magic. It's just patience, thought, play, and a little bit of bravery. And nothing is too precious in artwork to not try it. It's just a piece of paper. It's just one thing. Yes, of course, I understand the frustration when you have already 8 hours under your belt working on a piece and then you screw it up with a certain color that you don't like in the end. I totally get that. But there's always ways around it. And not every page has to be super awesomely well liked by you in the end, and not every piece has to be a masterpiece. Most of them are just for learning, and that's totally fine. Same goes with coloring books. It's not only with paintings or drawings of your own imagination, or if you're more of a realist or you want to go more into realism, then you probably have a lot of reference photos which help with color choice. Still, it just takes time to figure stuff out, and not always has to be, things don't always have to be photorealistic. There's this thing called artistic license, So you might have the shapes and shading totally photorealistic, but the colors are not, because, well, you maybe don't like yellows and you like pinks more, and you wanna have a pink lemon instead of a yellow one. Totally cool. There's no need for you to be stressed about it or frustrated with yourself. And of course, that's, I guess, sometimes easier said than done. But yes, stress or frustration is a motivating factor to try again. Definitely use that if you're that kind of person that is motivated by quote-unquote failure, or when you are not happy with what you produced. Maybe the rest of the world is. But if that is a motivator for you, well then, use it. Use it to your advantage to have more time spent with coloring, with artwork, with drawing. And if you're not motivated by that, well then find something else that triggers your desire to try something again, or maybe something new but in a similar way. It helps. It really does, folks. You also might want to accept that things just take time to learn. Or, well, maybe you're just a free and wild spirit and you just go with it, which I find so awesome. I really like that. Now, I did babble on quite a bit, and I have only a few towers left. For now, you might see that the cathedral looks kind of flat, and it's kind of weird because I have a lot of cold colors in the front and some of the warmer ones in the back. But remember that I can layer things, and that I'm going to add a couple of colors like yellow and gold, so the warm tones, also warm green in, for example, these bits here, also up there, up here and stuff. So it's not gonna look weird in the end, but also just want to remind you that with maybe a darker tone, things could look well with a colder color in the front, which is maybe not intuitive, wouldn't be for me. But I'm going with the real colors of the cathedral here, and it has those colors, so I have to work with a bit of a trick, maybe just to pull the focal point into the foreground a bit by using like a tint of warm color on top of the cold or something. But that is a detail that I will only take care of once I have everything colored in with a base color like it is. Well, there's more like shading going on already in this particular section. That one has, and also here and here. Red is oxide. And a bit of the Payne's gray. for this part. This is the gold, and then there's parts here. And that was the gold, okay. So let's bring in the Payne's Gray. Now I have to be on the lookout for a warm yellow that is gonna be gold, and I have to be on the lookout for a warm green. So I want the 1510, and I want a warm yellow underneath. That would be the 230. So 230, which is golden yellow, and 1510. Which is beach green. I'm going in. Coloring this yellow. I'm gonna have gold on top later on. Here I have these bits that are yellow. And I'm gonna have probably a wink of Stella or something on top for the gold part, but I want to have the yellow underpainting. And the rest is green. And this is also green. Now I can go in with my brush and liquefy that. Same here, I'm gonna go for the gold first. Be careful not to pull the green into the gold too much. And then I'm going to liquefy this lower part here, and I want it lighter in the middle. and a bit darker towards the edges. Go in here. And then I'm going in very carefully. I'm going to liquefy this green part here. Okay. Don't worry, there's gonna be way more contrast and stuff going on, but for now, that is that. I'm going to go in with the green here. Giving it a very solid layer. And now I can move on to these two and then go in for details. Now that one is the one that has gold down here. To introduce another color for this particular one. It also has gold here. There is a turquoise and the oxide. I forgot that that color is up there as well. But well, no problem. I can still color this in. But first I want to finish the green parts. This one here has the gold. And the green, the warm green. Now for the last one, these small bits here are the oxide ones and the other part is turquoise. So I'm going to choose the turquoise tone, and that will be the 1220, which is green aquamarine, also called turquoise. I'm going to put that here. I'm gonna liquefy this pigment. First the oxide. And finally turquoise. Now this is all base coated. I'm gonna dry this off, and the remaining half hour that I do have, I'm gonna intensify colors and I'm gonna shade. I'm gonna start with the green, so the warm green, the beach green. Gonna take this right from the pencil and just go over pieces. Well, it's actually not really working well, so I'm going to dry the pencil off and go in with the pigment right on the paper. Also here on the edges. Just to enhance the shapes a bit. Go. Then I'm gonna have the green here again, going in with a medium kind of pressure. Also to set it apart from the background, I'm going to do the same thing here on the top. Now I can come back to this particular part of the cathedral. Put down some more of the green along the lines, and going over with the water with it just enhances the shape and adds a bit more brilliance there, color intensity. Now I need the cold green, the dark one. Do I? No, I'm going to take the sky color. Where is it? There it is, the navy blue. So I'm going to take that, bring it over to the darkest parts of the emerald color or melon green. There's another shadow color. And what this does is it brings the background together with the foreground by having color repetition, but it's not blue to the point that you cannot distinguish the two. So background and foreground, just very distinct foreground still, because it actually looks like a dark green instead of a dark blue. And I'm just going on the outer parts of the tower here. To put it down here, just go over it, just to enhance the round shape of the towers. Not going in here, for example, but up here. Adding a bit of that blue. Need a shadow underneath or behind this part here of the tower to set the two towers apart. So I'm going to do that with the dark blue. Dark blue is a very nice shading color for green. Same here. That is fine. It's also okay. There is not enough of the blue-green to be so prominent. I'm gonna use a bit of the dark blue here. Just a little bit to add some more shadow. I might run a few minutes longer. I'm just on my watch. I do have a little more than 27 minutes left, so this might be longer than 2 hours, but I want to finish this now. So that would be the blue. Now with the brown madder, which I already used a bit on those towers, I'm going in and enhance the separation between towers here, like putting a dark shadow down here, but still have it look reddish. So not going in with a brown or a gray or a black, but with a darker reddish oxide tone. Same on this side. I'm not going to introduce any new colors at this point. I want some shadow here, also here, the lower part of this cathedral. Just to set aside the yellow tower from the other, I'm gonna have like a minimal shadow behind this onion here. Just a smidge. I need to introduce a black, ink black, here we go, just to add a bit more to this particular tower here, just to separate it from the other two. Same goes here. Just a little bit. Doing the same thing on the lower parts here that I did on the other sections here, so bringing in the brown matter, pulling it to have a bit of a shadow or darker color down here. Need brown matter here quite a bit, so here and here. So this tower stands out. This tower here is a bit darker. Has to be quite a bit darker here. Want some up here in those swirls. And I want a bit of black now, just to enhance the shape of those towers. And that will set it apart a bit more from the background too. For this part you have to be a bit brave, but often people stop too early when it comes to contrast in paintings, and well, you have to be really brave to cover up all the coloring you did with black to have contrast there. For example, need a bit on this section here and also here. Now I need to have a bit more contrast here on this big tower. Just to set it apart a little bit from the background. So I'm going in with a line of black on the right hand side. I'm not pulling the pigment towards the middle, but just having a line to liquefy. Same goes up here. If you hear weird voices, my hubby is home and he's kind of talking loud in the living room. Sorry about that. All right. Just keeping on outlining a few things. Like, for example, this onion here has to be a bit more prominent, as well as this tower. Oh, I just see that I forgot to color this one yellow. But I'm going to finish with the black enhanced outlines first, and then going to bring in the yellow once more. All right, let's bring in the yellow. For this itty bitty little thing up here. And then I'm going to dry this and bring in the Wink of Stella in gold and the white gel pen to finish off this coloring. Okie dokie. Let's go with the Wink of Stella first, which is just a little bit of gold glimmer. I'm going over the gold pieces just to give it a shimmer and a shine, which is of course hardly visible on camera, probably not at all. And let me see if I can catch it. Can I catch it? I hope you see the glimmery. But it gives a nice subtle shine to the golden bits of the cathedral. It's not too overwhelmingly gold because you can see the yellow underneath through the glimmer. But it is nice enough to add a little bit of shine and set apart the cathedral from the street lamp and such, because these are the other yellow tones. Like that. And a little bit here on that cross. And I have to turn this also here. And those bubbles here as well. And on this particular tower here, okay, from my perspective there's quite a lot of shimmer. I'm trying to catch it again. Hope you can see it. I hope it picks up on camera. If not, I'm sorry. But it's there, I promise. Now for the whites, I'm going to highlight these window crosses here. And these sections. And I think that's that. Let me check once more. Do I need anything else? Yeah, maybe this one you really liked. Yep, that's it. That's the St. Basil's Cathedral. I'm gonna leave it as it is. I hope you enjoyed watching along. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I will see you on the next video. I'm gonna go back to the Outlander book and color Mr. Jack Randall. And I'm contemplating if I'm going to color him in like all black, which I'm not gonna do. Don't worry, it's just, yeah. I'm gonna do that next week. The blog post will be up by the time this video is done. You can read up on all the numbers of the Inktense pencils that I used, as well as the Wink of Stella and the white gel pen and such. There's also going to be close-up photos available in case you're curious, and I hope you enjoyed. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'm going to see you next Thursday. Have fun, folks. Have a wonderful day, and maybe you got some time to color today. Bye-bye, folks.